In the light of the Bill Cosby conviction, the Kavanaugh accusations and saga that's going on right now, there are a lot of people who are saying that this 80 plus year old man and this 50 plus year old man are from eras where women were forced into silence, when they had, men in positions of power do things to them, yada, yada, yada. And my stance on that is, I think while it is true that there was undoubtedly some of that happening, that narrative is being used to effectively um, serve a confirmation bias about people that we suspect are that way. So, for example, um, if someone wanted to say, "Oh, this 80-plus-year-old person is really respectful of every group and uh, type of person around them," no one would no one would dispute that or otherwise try to argue against it unless someone made an accusation of racism or sexism toward them, at which point you would have someone go and say, "Oh, well, it makes sense because they're from that era where there was discrimination toward, X group or whichever team you might be referring to." Effectively, they would not feel the need to bring up the person's age or the era that they grew in unless they were exhibiting something they associated with that era. Um, and look, it's really weird because I don't know what people think they're living in now. I mean, we're living in an era where you have 63% of Americans living a rather unable to afford $1,000 emergency, and no one talks about that. No, certainly none of where the politicians who should be discussing that are too busy bending over for corporations and defense contractors. Where you can get more people to come and watch something on here if I just sit and talk about a woman versus the genocide going on in Yemen right now, where all of these schools and various buildings of assistance to the youth and the elderly are being destroyed, along with those two demographics and everyone in between, by the Saudis being able to purchase weapons that are created over here in the United States. And none of this, gets discussed. So when I hear, the era that they came from, was it the era where people actually cared about something? Because the era I'm in right now is the era of laziness and no empathy. Um, when I was talking about how I wanted to see proof of these allegations, that didn't seem like too big of a request. Um, and I did that because I have enough empathy to realize I don't want my name tarnished and destroyed when someone decides to come out and say, "Oh, this person did this to me." And a lot of these people who back these allegers, or whichever term you use to refer them, will bring up the statistic of, oh, 2% of all sexual assault allegations turn out to be false. Well, what is that based off of? Um, and also, if that's true and it confirms that there is a portion that decide to make things up, why would that automatically dissuade anyone from saying, okay, it's impossible for any of these to be made up, or for most of these to be made up? It's just a very sickening thing, because people like to believe that we're in a more advanced period now. And I did the video yesterday about the end of the United States. It was promoting the idea that we've allowed ourselves to regress mentally, and just in terms of what we consider to be our priorities, while technology just keeps getting better and better and better. But we don't take advantage of it. And a lot of people would better be served if they sat back and decided to hear someone out and have a dialogue as it pertains to talking about issues that affect loads of people, like the ones I brought up earlier. But instead, we get the people who are interested in the music videos, who are interested in the talk about nonsense. And while there's a time and place for that as well, it does not bode well when I keep hearing about how bad things were. So maybe I made some sense here. I don't know. It's just I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this idea that things are great now. I'm tired of this belief that people are any different than they were 30, 40, 50 years ago. Um, in reality, because we have this idea that things back then had to have been so horrible for whatever group here, we're more willing to let members of that group, including what is actually a majority of people here in the U.S., women, get away with coming up with unsubstantiated claims that if a man alleged of a woman, we'd all laugh at. We'd all go, oh, please. It would be the comedy of the town. Um, so it's sad, but thank you.